million a year.
Plus, an Oakland restaurant owner closing up shop and moving across the bay to San Francisco. Well, he says Oakland is not doing enough for businesses to stay afloat.
What I've seen here is just the lack of investment, a lack of attention, and actually just respect for the people that live here and that work.
And it's like speed dating, but you're looking for a perfect roommate. Hear from some people in the Bay Area trying this new matchmaking service. Thanks for joining us this Monday. I'm Ann Makovic. We're going to have those stories and a lot more coming right after our news headlines, starting with the FBI investigating a flamethrower attack in Boulder, Colorado as a possible terror attack. Police say 45-year-old Mohammed Solomon attacked a group yesterday. They had been peacefully marching to try to raise awareness for Israeli hostages in Gaza. Witnesses say he shouted "Free Palestine," then used a makeshift flamethrower and Molotov cocktails to burn at least 8 people. They were between the ages of 52 and 88.
Heard a big boom and people yelling and screaming.
It's clear that this is a targeted act of violence, and the FBI is investigating this as an act of terrorism.
Authorities say the suspect is an Egyptian national. A U.S. official confirms to CBS News the suspect overstayed his visa after coming to the U.S. in 2022. The local chapter of the Jewish Community Relations Council sent us a statement saying, in part, the rise in extremist violence is deeply dangerous, and it's more important than ever that we speak up against it. The man accused of driving the car that hit and killed a teacher in Oakland is due back in court today. 18-year-old Eric Hernandez Garcia facing a number of charges, including vehicular manslaughter after last week's crash in East Oakland. Dr. Marvin Boomer, died after a speeding car trying to evade the CHP rammed into him and his partner while they were out for a walk. The CHP says it had ended its pursuit just moments before that crash. Also in Oakland, city workers back in the office starting today. They are required to be in the building for at least 4 days a week. That marks the end of the flexible work-from-home policies that started during the pandemic. President Trump plans to double the tariff on foreign steel and aluminum. He says the new tariffs will take effect this Wednesday. That could increase prices on everything from construction materials to canned food. The European Union is already threatening to counter. The Trump administration says this is about protecting jobs. A surfer is probably a bit shaken up, but not injured after a shark bit into his surfboard. It happened off the San Mateo County coastline at around 2 o'clock Saturday, at Montera State Beach, about 100 yards offshore. Lifeguards cleared the water and closed the beach for 48 hours. All right, now let's get a check on our first alert weather as we start a new work week. We do have an air quality advisory in effect through tomorrow because of smoke coming in from those wildfires in Canada. The Air District says you could smell smoke and air quality could become unhealthy. Meteorologist Zoe Mintz has a look at our forecast.
We're looking at really nice weather on the way today, even though when you see that low pressure system, normally it means storm systems are on the way. But this low pressure system is not bringing us any sort of rainfall or really any sort of a cool down. As it continues to make its way across the coast, we're actually going to be noticing a change in wind direction. And as it does so, that's actually going to allow our temperatures to warm up compared to yesterday. But there's still going to be those microclimates that are in full force. We're still going to be seeing coastal communities in the low 60s, but it's better than the upper 50s that we felt yesterday. We'll be in the upper 60s across the downtown areas in San Francisco. But the biggest thing that you'll notice is as you head across the bridges, you're not looking at nearly as big of a heat up like what we did this past weekend. And it's the reasoning because of the wind direction. We saw the wind direction over the weekend coming in from that onshore flow. Now it's coming in directly from the south. So that's allowing everybody, especially areas around the bay, to feel more comfortable heat, I would say. And that's going to stick around throughout the next several days. We're going to continue to see areas of low pressure making their way along the California coast. And as they do so, it's going to keep those temperatures seasonable. It's going to keep that daily chance for fog along our coastal communities, fog burning off by the afternoon hours, and then honestly really nice conditions are ahead of us. Although it will be a bit breezy, gusts anywhere from 25 to 35 miles an hour this afternoon and tomorrow afternoon. Kind of depends on where you're located, but again, everybody is going to be seeing really, really nice weather for the first full week of June. High temperatures a degree or two above average across our inland areas, upper 70s to low 80s, but overall it's kind of what we expect this time of year with those daily rounds of early morning fog, that fog burning off by the afternoon, and then seeing plenty of sunshine. Maybe a little bit more fog on Wednesday, but overall, really quiet weather over the next 7 days with little to no chances for anything to worry about. No need to grab that umbrella anytime soon.
Well, today does mark the official start to fire season in Santa Rosa. That declaration triggers some important safety measures like burn bans and rules for vegetation management. Fire crews and neighbors came together for a wildfire preparedness refresher over the weekend, so they're ready to go if that moment strikes. Santa Rosa, you'll remember, saw 2 major wildfires in recent years, the Tubbs Fire in 2017 and the Glass Fire in 2020. With memories of past fires still fresh, the focus now turns to prevention.
Our hope is that the work that we do to train is going to be complemented by a lot of the vegetation management practices, weed abatement, defensible space, home hardening that we're hopeful that our community takes into account and does.
Fire officials say these strategies will be especially important this year. After a wet start to the year, dry grass and overgrown vegetation have quickly turned into a lot of fire fuel. Benicia is preparing for a future without its biggest employer, the Valero refining company. The closure could have a tremendous economic impact on the area and even on everybody's gas prices throughout the state. Neighbors tell our Da Lin they are split on the looming reality of the factory being gone.
For a lot of the refinery communities like Benicia, Richmond, and Martinez, there's this love-hate relationship with their local refinery. They love the economic benefits, but hate the pollution problems. As Valero plans to shut down next April, Benicia officials are working to soften the economic blow. Not only is it the city's biggest employer, the Valero refinery also pays the most in taxes to the city of Benicia.
Valero represents, in direct contributions to our economy, are between $10 and $12 million a year.
Benicia Mayor Steve Young says that's about 20% of the city's annual budget, roughly $60 million. If Valero leaves next year, that $10 to $12 million tax hit could grow as other businesses that depend on the refinery may also be forced to close.
There will be impacts to restaurants and hotels.
As the city braces for possible cuts to programs and staff, the mayor is looking for ways to replace that tax revenue.
What I'm trying to do is buy some time. If we can delay this closure for 3 years and give ourselves a chance to start talking about what comes next and what type of development would be best to try to replace what's happening here and continue to operate and give us some revenue in the meantime, that would be the best of all worlds.
Artist Marilyn Bardet spent years serving as a watchdog, making sure Valero followed environmental rules and protected the community's health.
I believe there will be pain, but I believe that out of that situation comes really strong feelings for what is our community about.
She believes the closure could benefit Benicia.
Our community will be healthier. Our children will not have as much asthma. The cancer rates may, over a generation, begin to, decrease.
Some refinery supporters point fingers at city officials and environmentalists, accusing them of pushing Valero out, along with hundreds of good-paying jobs.
It's a benefit for the area, and also there's going to be quite a bit of job loss involved.
One longtime worker told us in April he and many others were able to put their kids through college thanks to Valero.
Some people just are going to be out of a job because there's not enough places to fill the gaps.
Mayor Young says he's talking to state officials and Valero to see if there's a way to delay the closure, but he's also preparing for the worst.
We're a vibrant and resilient community, and we are going to get through this. We're not going to be declaring bankruptcy or doing anything like that.
Aside from Valero, a major refinery in LA is also planning to shut down. Oil experts say the closures would drive up gas prices. Gavin Newsom and the state's Energy Commission are working with the oil industry to see if they can find some kind of compromise.
Last year, Bay Area air quality regulators slapped an $82 million penalty on Valero's Benicia refinery for a history of toxic chemical releases and other violations at the site. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area, we are going to meet a former San Quentin inmate who says something as simple as making sure every prisoner has their own cell can drastically improve their chances of rehabilitation.
We literally turned my cell into a law library and studied the law for 4 years.
Plus, leaving Oakland for San Francisco. My one business owner decided to pack up shop and start over.
Oakland, you know, it's a tough place right now. It's not welcoming. There's not a lot of support for small businesses.
And after more than 30 years, a major cycling event to raise money for AIDS research is nearing its end. We're meeting up with the team as they hit the road one last time.
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight. Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
Monday, we are looking at much more comfortable weather on the way this week. The first official full week of June is seasonable. We'll be in the upper 60s to low 70s every single day across the bay. So that's really nice for any outdoor activities, no longer having to worry about dealing with the excessive heat in triple digits. Even our inland communities, upper 70s to low 80s. That's really nice. A couple of degrees above average. So overall, a beautiful first full week of June is ahead of us.
It was once home to some of the state's most hardened criminals, but San Quentin is now undergoing a major transformation with the focus on rehabilitation. A small part of that effort involves a state proposal that would require some inmates to be moved from shared cells into their own. And why that might not seem like a big deal to people outside the prison walls, one former inmate tells our Lauren Toms it could make a world of difference.
When you think about being confined in that type of space 24 hours a day with another human that you don't know, it becomes tense quickly and can become tense.
Ken Oliver spent nearly 24 years behind bars. 8 of those years were spent in solitary confinement. It was there, alone, in the space the size of a closet, where he found clarity and focus to turn his life around.
I literally turned my cell into a law library and studied the law for 4 years. I had thousands of cases in my cell, books and everything else, and had I had a cellmate, I would not have been able to do that.
Since his release, he's become an advocate for justice reforms. He supports a new assembly bill that would require at least 10% of prison populations to be housed in single occupancy cells. It would start as a pilot program with 4 state facilities, and Ken says if it passes, it can give more inmates a shot at true rehabilitation.
Because it causes less stress. When I'm forced to navigate that with another person, I'm actually restricting a piece of myself or repressing a piece of myself because there's another human being in close proximity that, if I don't do that, may cause violence.
It is probably the most unimaginable partnership between a district attorney and inmates in a prison.
The bill has an unlikely ally in San Francisco District Attorney Brooke Jenkins. She says her partnership with inmates at San Quentin, whom she calls residents, has given her a deeper understanding of their stories and needs for successfully reentering society.
When you're handling a case, you're only talking about the facts of probably the worst day of their lives, but you don't get to know who they are and what their story is. And so what I learned is they have an overwhelming desire to have us as prosecutors understand the road that got them here, and they also want to be able to give back so that other people, other kids, youth, young people don't end up in the same place.
Vincent O'Bannon worked closely with Jenkins on the legislation while serving more than 15 years at San Quentin.
I never imagined that I would be on the same side of the table as a district attorney.
He remembers the violence that can erupt in tight cells, often with strangers, adding barriers to the journey towards rehabilitation.
While I was at San Quentin, there had to be at least 5 murders by cellmates. Being alone takes a great weight off of you.
And for Ken, as he walks the exterior of San Quentin, he's hopeful that the system that once worked to confine him is working to improve public safety both inside and outside its walls.
So the bill would have to clear the Assembly and the Senate before it could make its way to the governor's desk. A high school trans athlete at the center of a political firestorm now has a pair of first-place medals. 16-year-old A.B. Hernandez from Jurupa Valley placed first in the high jump and the triple jump, and second in the long jump at the track and field finals in Fresno County over the weekend. Co-winners were named in each of those events because of a rule change by the CIF. This all happened after President Trump threatened to cut federal funding from the state if it allowed Hernandez to compete.
This is still a high schooler. She is learning, she's navigating the world just like we are every single day. And that I know I would want grace if I was put in a situation where I had a bunch of light on me and what I was doing.
Police say they arrested at least one protester at the event. The Justice Department said it would investigate if the school and state violated federal law by allowing Hernandez to compete. Oakland's budget talks are heating up as neighbors disagree on priorities. Some want more funding for public safety, while others push for stronger action on homelessness and encampments. The city facing a $260 million budget deficit over 2 years. While leaders are proposing some layoffs, they also plan to increase police staffing to get to their goal of 700 officers. And some officials say that's not enough. They want more money for the police department. Others want to protect funding for neighborhood cleanups, including trash and graffiti removal.
The children is always my concern. I have neighbors stating that they have to walk around the corner in order to get to the school to avoid the RV encampments.
There are several cuts to our litter enforcement officers, the people who pick up trash, tree services. There are just some very specific things around illegal dumping and graffiti that are deeply concerning to me. So I will be making amendments to the budget.
Across the Bay, San Francisco also dealing with some major budget woes. Mayor Daniel Lurie says he is prepared to make some painful moves to tackle a nearly $800 million deficit over the next 2 years. His proposal eliminates 1,400 city positions, most of which are vacant right now, but around 100 people will still lose their jobs. That is according to the mayor's office. They said that the layoffs would not impact public safety workers like police and firefighters. Mayor Lurie also proposing bringing grant funding back to pre-pandemic spending levels, which he says will save the city $100 million. The mayors of San Francisco and Oakland have not been leading their cities for very long, but they are both facing the tremendous challenge of boosting their city's recovery. Part of that puzzle is attracting more businesses. Right now, San Francisco has at least 13 grants available to try to help small business owners. That is according to the city's website. Those grants range from subsidizing rent in vacant storefronts to vandalism relief funds. In Oakland, several nonprofits offer grants and other forms of assistance to small businesses. Those include the East Bay Community Foundation and the Unity Council. But one small business owner says Oakland is just not doing enough to offer help. Now he is taking his popular Oakland-based restaurant to San Francisco. He's going to be moving into the IKEA food hall on Market Street. Armanda Harry talked to the owner about why he feels Oakland is just not right for his business.
After originating in Oakland and spending a decade in the city, Tacos El Último Valle is closing up shop and moving across the bridge to the IKEA food hall.
It seems like it's a little brighter on that side.
Dominic Prado says his taco business has taken different forms over the years. A pop-up, a food truck, and most recently, a restaurant at the Fruitvale Public Market, opening in October of 2022. But less than 2 years later, in July of 2024, he was forced to close.
You know, people are not out as much as they used to be, and people are not out here at all.
He says there's very little foot traffic and believes people don't feel safe there, which is what inspired him to run for Oakland City Council last November, calling out elected officials and police over safety issues in the area. He ultimately lost to Noel Gallo, and now he's keeping his business afloat with catering jobs, and he's trying to sell the Fruitvale location.
But what I've seen here is just the lack of investment, a lack of attention, and actually just respect for the people that live here and that work, you know, day to day.
He also felt a lack of support from the Unity Council, the nonprofit corporation that owns and oversees the public market. He was vocal about it.
I think I spoke up when nobody else wanted to about the situation here, and I'll continue to do what I can. Unfortunately, I didn't make the change that I would like to see. If you look around or if you take a stroll through International, you'll see some of the conditions there, and that's what's been the hardest part.
So he's taking his northern Mexican-style wood-fried tacos to San Francisco. At the end of the month, he'll be moving into a new location at Salu Hall, the IKEA food hall on Market Street.
Salu Hall's been welcoming. They're eager. They're excited. You know, the branding that the PR that they have, PR team that they have, is going to be work wonders for my brand. And so Oakland, you know, it's a tough place right now. It's not welcoming. There's not a lot of support for small businesses.
Prado says he's impressed by the investment he's seeing from new San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie. He thinks he's incentivizing small businesses and cleaning up the area around Market Street.
We live in major cities, and there's always going to be some kind of element. But I think what they're doing downtown San Francisco Market actually it seems promising.
Prado's agreement is for a 4-month trial with an option to extend if the business is successful.
Well, we reached out to Oakland's Unity Council, but they have not responded to our request for comment yet. A landmark restaurant along San Francisco's waterfront has closed its doors for good. Fog City, with its glowing neon sign, has been a staple on the Embarcadero for the past 40 years. Not only was it big on the San Francisco foodie scene, but it was also in the 1993 film So I Married an Axe Murderer. That is what really put it on the map. The restaurant closed officially on Friday. They didn't say why they were closing. Still ahead, a final ride this year for AIDS LifeCycle, the life-changing journeys that have helped millions raise money for the cause.
This is what I decided to do at 70. You know, other people decide to take long vacations.
we'll be seeing slightly cooler weather closer to our coastal communities, slightly warmer weather across the North Bay, as multiple areas of low pressure are going to continue to impact us. But low pressure basically just means that we'll see a bit more cloud coverage along the coast. Little to no chances for any sort of rain over at least the next 7 days. It's this weekend, though, that all eyes are going to be on when it comes to a bit more of a heat up. But it's not going to be nearly as hot as it was last weekend. We'll just be in the upper 80s, not upper 90s to triple digits. So yes, it's going to be warmer this weekend, but it's not going to be excessively hot. It's not going to be record breaking. It's not going to be dangerous. Overall, really, really lovely weather is in store for the first full week of June. It doesn't matter whether you live in our inland locations or closer to the coast. Even our coastal communities are no longer going to be seeing those 50s. They're going to be in the mid to lower 60s and warming up to the upper 60s by this upcoming weekend. So overall, really nice weather is in store. Back to you.
For one final time, thousands of cyclists are making a more than 500-mile journey this week to raise money for HIV and AIDS programs. The AIDS LifeCycle kicked off their annual ride yesterday at the Cow Palace in Daly City. This year, participants raised more than $17 million. The cyclists ended their first day of riding yesterday in Santa Cruz. They're going to end their 545-mile journey this Saturday in Los Angeles. Over the past 30-plus years, the event has raised more than $300 million. Arlen Ramirez shows us how a local team trained for the life-changing journey.
Megan Schutzer is clicked in, geared up, and focused as they pedaled out for one of their final training rides before the big event. Megan has spent months preparing, early mornings, long roads, and 2,000 miles of hard training in the saddle. It's all to be in shape for the ordeal that lies ahead. And for Megan, the road to the AIDS LifeCycle ride is personal and powerful.
I think that this ride has always been political. When it started, it was both supporting people living with the disease by raising money, but it was also making a statement so that people would pay attention to the issue. And it continues to be that to this day. We're not just raising money for these organizations, but we're passing through a lot of small towns, and the impact I think that our community has as we come down the coast it's hard to measure, and it's really important. 30 seconds in, 90 to go.
Megan is co-captain of a powerhouse team for women, trans and non-binary people who call themselves We Spoke. They don't just put in the miles on the road, they put in the time in the gym, spinning, and strength training, gaining confidence and lending moral support to meet the challenge. They're active people like Dipti, who's taking it on for the first time.
This is what I decided to do at 70. You know, other people decide to take long vacations. This is what I decided to do.
And people motivated to make a difference, like Mariana, who's doing her second ride this year.
Sadly, the AIDS crisis is not over, and now more than ever, we need to bring awareness to it.
Together, they've raised over $200,000 to support life-saving HIV/AIDS services through the San Francisco AIDS Foundation and the Los Angeles LGBT Center. But this year's ride is bittersweet. It marks the final AIDS LifeCycle event after more than 2 decades of fundraising and community building.
The loss of this event, I think, my sadness and fear is that there would be loss of community, and I'm really hopeful that people continue to gather and continue to do this work together. It's so cool to see.
Over 3,000 cyclists will be making the 500-plus mile journey one last time. Megan has done it every year since 2016 and wants to get that feeling one last time, to be with her community and supporters, united by purpose, perseverance, and pride.
And I think when you are raising money for this cause, you're doing something physically challenging, you already feel so good, and then there's all that goodness to share, and it's so special and so different from anything I've seen.
They're just one part of a remarkable legacy, with every push of the pedal now heading for the finish line.
As for why the AIDS LifeCycle is ending, organizers say it is because of operational costs and a decline in fundraising. As we kick off Pride Month, we are highlighting the challenges many face finding safe, affordable housing in San Francisco, especially within the LGBTQ plus community. William Anthony is one of those who has struggled. As a gay man with a disability, he faced discrimination and obstacles in his search for a home. After moving back from Brazil and dealing with plenty of debt, he found help through Abode. That's a nonprofit that connects people to housing resources and support.
They were a blessing. I feel like God sent them for me. Don't let labels define you. We are so much more than whatever group society puts us in.
Our Suji Nam brings us William's story tonight at 5 on our evening edition. Coming up in our next half hour here on CBS News Bay Area, at long last, the SMART train has finally made its way to Windsor. My neighbors in the North Bay say it's such a big deal. And could there really be extraterrestrial life? New research suggests it could very well be possible.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Thanks for staying with us this Monday. I'm Ann Makovic, and here is another look at some of our news headlines we're following today. The FBI investigating a flamethrower attack in Boulder, Colorado as a possible terror attack. Police say 45-year-old Mohammed Solomon attacked a group that was peacefully marching yesterday to raise awareness for Israeli hostages in Gaza. Witnesses say he shouted "Free Palestine" and then used a makeshift flamethrower and Molotov cocktails to burn at least 8 people ages 52 to 88. Authorities say the suspect is an Egyptian national who overstayed his visa. The man accused of driving the car that hit and killed an Oakland teacher last week due back in court today. Eric Hernandez Garcia is facing a number of charges, including vehicular manslaughter. After that crash in East Oakland, Dr. Marvin Boomer died after a speeding car trying to evade the CHP crashed into him and his partner while they were out for a walk. And a shark bit into a surfboard off the San Mateo County coastline this weekend. Happened at around 2 p.m. Saturday at Montero State Beach, about 100 yards offshore. Lifeguards cleared the water and closed that beach for 48 hours. Now let's get another check on our first alert forecast. An air quality advisory is in effect through tomorrow because of smoke coming in from wildfires in Canada. Here's meteorologist Zoe Mintz.
We're looking at really nice weather on the way today, even though when you see that low pressure system, normally it means storm systems are on the way. But this low pressure system is not bringing us any sort of rainfall or really any sort of a cool down. As it continues to make its way across the coast, we're actually going to be noticing a change in wind direction. And as it does so, that's actually going to allow our temperatures to warm up compared to yesterday. But there's still going to be those microclimates that are in full force. We're still going to be seeing coastal communities in the low 60s, but it's better than the upper 50s that we felt yesterday. We'll be in the upper 60s across the downtown areas in San Francisco. But the biggest thing that you'll notice is as you head across the bridges, you're not looking at nearly as big of a heat up like what we did this past weekend. And it's the reasoning because of the wind direction. We saw the wind direction over the weekend coming in from that onshore flow. Now it's coming in directly from the south. So that's allowing everybody, especially areas around the bay, to feel more comfortable heat, I would say. And that's going to stick around throughout the next several days. We're going to continue to see areas of low pressure making their way along the California coast. And as they do so, it's going to keep those temperatures seasonable. It's going to keep that daily chance for fog along our coastal communities, fog burning off by the afternoon hours, and then honestly really nice conditions are ahead of us. Although it will be a bit breezy, gusts anywhere from 25 to 35 miles an hour this afternoon and tomorrow afternoon. Kind of depends on where you're located, but again, everybody is going to be seeing really, really nice weather for the first full week of June. High temperatures a degree or two above average across our inland areas, upper 70s to low 80s, but overall it's kind of what we expect this time of year with those daily rounds of early morning fog, that fog burning off by the afternoon, and then seeing plenty of sunshine. Maybe a little bit more fog on Wednesday, but overall, really quiet weather over the next 7 days with little to no chances for anything to worry about. No need to grab that umbrella anytime soon.
This weekend marked the long-awaited arrival of the Smart commuter train to Windsor up in the North Bay. The original purpose was to get people to work and back, but as John Ramos shows us, it is also a way to get people to play.
Windsor has been waiting for years for SMART to arrive, and now that the train is finally pulling into the station, there are high hopes of what it will mean for the small communities up and down the North Bay. It's been 8 years since the SMART train began operation, so when it finally arrived in Windsor, Maria Ledesma had to get over her skepticism.
I know, I never thought it was actually going to happen, but now that it happened, I was like, okay, let's go.
She and her sister Maricela brought their entire families out to enjoy a day riding the rails.
I'm just excited to ride it. It's my first time, so we'll see how it goes.
What are you planning to do today?
We're going to go to Larkspur and then just hang out, eat over there, and then just see what else comes up.
It's just like, it's an easier way to move without having to deal with the traffic and everything and have someone else do the driving. And also have the kids get a chance to ride the train, which they're super excited. So
the first time they've ever been on a train?
It's their first time, so they're really excited over that.
The excitement is a bit ironic, considering that the previous end of the line was only 5 minutes away at the airport station in Santa Rosa. But nothing beats having a station of your own to call home.
Absolutely, because we're here in our hometown. We just drove down the street and get to ride from our own place in Windsor.
And that makes a big difference.
Huge difference. It's our hometown.
SMART was envisioned as a commuter transit line, but then the pandemic hit and work patterns changed, and the rail line has been struggling to find a niche. Now, the further north you get from San Francisco, it's viewed as a way to connect the small cities, and that means it can be good for business.
I was shocked when I got to work this morning how many cars were down here, and it's popping down here.
Marie Esposti Winter owns the Hush Up clothing boutique right next to the train station. She survived a global pandemic, 2 wildfires, and now President Trump's trade war tariffs. So while she's optimistic about SMART, she's also a realist about what its impact might be.
We have tons of cute little boutiques, restaurants. Realistically, I don't know how many Marin people are going to come up here and shop. Although I've taken the train down to Petaluma and shop down there, so the hope is that everybody down south will come up north and enjoy the train and come check out Windsor.
SMART used to end at a nondescript train yard, but now ending at Windsor gives the rail line an actual destination. The town green is a popular picnic area, and the shops, restaurants, and wine tasting rooms are giving people a reason to get on the train.
Becoming much more of a place where people are coming, especially from out of town. It will bring people down here and help boost the local economy, which is pretty vibrant, but I mean, everything helps, right? We're all based on tourism here, so that's all very helpful.
And Devin Hoops is exactly the kind of rider they're hoping for. The Santa Rosa resident has been using the train as a fun way to explore the small cities surrounding his hometown.
I haven't made it down to Novato yet, like to really explore that from the train. But that's on the list. I'm like getting there.
The towns have always been here, easily accessible by automobile. But somehow the experience of riding the train is causing people to venture out, and in the process, connecting them with their neighbors up and down the line.
All right, not a bad staycation idea there. Here's a warning, though, for drivers. Check out this sinkhole. This is in Santa Cruz County. It left southbound lane on Highway 1 shut down. This is near the Buena Vista Drive exit. It opened up over the weekend, and Caltrans is working to patch that up. New research from Cambridge points to some evidence of extraterrestrial life. Scientists say they uncovered strong evidence of organic chemicals in the atmosphere of a very distant but Earth-like solar system. Our Brian Hackney looks at the research and how scientists are working to find life outside of this world.
7, 6.
Have a liftoff. Voyager 1 launched in 1977. Very smooth flight. Passing Jupiter, then Saturn. Pressures look very good. And now it's the most distant human-made object, screaming along at 38,000 miles an hour. At that rate, it would take 2 million years to reach this, star K2-18, and a planet orbiting it that might have a biosignature. Or might not.
Biosignature is a sign of life.
This is Bertrand Menezin.
And we are here at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California,
where they're researching exobiology.
Exobiology is the search for biology outside of Earth.
Have we found anything yet?
No, not really. There's been some intriguing detections very recently that need to be further confirmed and further studied.
Interest in the subject spiked when Cambridge astronomers found what they called the strongest evidence yet that life may exist on a planet outside our solar system. Those astronomers used data from the orbiting James Webb Telescope to detect what they think are organic molecules in that desperately distant planet.
This took some imagination. It took enormous imagination to, out of the data from 124 light years away, to taste the atmosphere of this planet for a fraction of a minute.
Professor Scott Hildreth out of Chabot College had a ball explaining the experiment, a basketball for that distant sun, a tennis ball for the planet, specifically the fuzz on the tennis ball. Really?
We have the ability from Earth to see when the planet just comes between us and the star. That fuzz, the atmosphere of the planet, is between us and the star for a fraction of a time. And in that time, we can tell what the gases in the atmosphere are made of.
Those Cambridge scientists think they spotted organic molecules from 124 light years away.
So does that mean it's something alive? It hints at it, but it does not mean it.
That's because at the moment, Cambridge only has one leg to stand on, that of an incomplete experimental result.
The other leg of science, though, is skepticism. It's tested again, tested independently, tested with a different experiment. So the jury's still out? The jury's out, but what's fun about this is a great illustration of how science works.
Back at JPL, they're working on the Roman Space Telescope. A big leap forward in detecting life on another planet, something we haven't quite done yet.
But the hope is we are developing the technology to be able to do that in space with the Roman Space Telescope. So the technology is being developed, we're getting closer every day.
From Voyager to the Roman Space Telescope, very smooth flight, looking for life light years away, in the hopes that maybe someday something will look back.
Well, coming up next, it was another sellout at Chase Center as the Valkyries hosted one of the WNBA's top contenders. But did they get the job done?
In the Bay Area, a new WNBA franchise is taking flight.
Catch this first-in-a-lifetime inaugural season as the Golden State Valkyries play live on KPIX and Pix Plus.
Happy Monday. We are looking at much more comfortable weather on the way this week. The first official full week of June is seasonable. We'll be in the upper 60s to low 70s every single day across the bay. So that's really nice for any outdoor activities. No longer having to worry about dealing with the excessive heat in triple digits. Even our inland communities, upper 70s to low 80s. That's really nice. A couple of degrees above average. So overall, a beautiful first full week of June is ahead of us.
Well, the Oakland Roots are kicking out their head coach. The soccer team announced that it fired Gavin Glinton after less than a year. Assistant coach Jesse Cormier is also out. The president of the Oakland Roots says the team has not been meeting expectations this season. Glinton joined the Roots in 2022 as an assistant coach in 2022 and took over as head coach last spring, leading the team back to the playoffs. He leaves with 14 wins, 5 draws, and 23 losses under his belt. The Golden State Valkyries returned from New York to take on the Minnesota Lynx at Chase Center last night. But just like with the Liberty, the Violet and Black knew coming in that it wasn't going to be easy. Vern Glenn has the highlights.
The Valkyries got a little home cooking this weekend after a week-long trip to New York. And what was their reward after a game against the defending champs? A date with the undefeated Minnesota Lynx. Oh, Warriors, Brandon Bajemski, next to owner Joe Lakeup with their black and violet on. Picking up second quarter, Katie Martin had the Valkyries going in this one. Hit from deep, and she was fouled. Career-high 14 points in 19 minutes. Valkyries led 51-50 midway, but it was all Minnesota in the second half. Fourth quarter, Courtney Williams hit from deep. Valkyries were outscored 35-23 in the second half, and the Lynx won it 86-75, and Kelsey Thorne was there.
I know Natalie has talked a lot about you guys still kind of meshing together, figuring out your groups. How do you feel like you are right now at this point in the season?
Yeah, I mean, I'm impressed with us. You know, we're all brand new. Like, this is new, this is exciting, and we're competing. You know, I think that's what you're going to get from us every single night, and we've proved that. And so we just have a lot to build on, and I think that's the most exciting part about it. And we'll stay together, and I think we'll be better.
Well, tune in on Thursday over on Pix Plus to see if the Valkyries can bounce back when they play the Phoenix Mercury. Tip-off at 7 p.m., and you can catch pregame coverage streaming right here on CBS News Bay Area. Coming up, a new way to find your perfect roommates, how one company is trying to help people save money through this unique matchmaking service.
You meet the people you're going to live with, and, you know, it's the people that are going to make or break the experience.
We'll be seeing slightly cooler weather closer to our coastal communities, slightly warmer weather across the North Bay, as multiple areas of low pressure are going to continue to impact us. But low pressure basically just means that we'll see a bit more cloud coverage along the coast. Little to no chances for any sort of rain over at least the next 7 days. It's this weekend, though, that all eyes are going to be on when it comes to a bit more of a heat up. But it's not going to be nearly as hot as it was last weekend. We'll just be in the upper 80s, not upper 90s to triple digits. So yes, it's going to be warmer this weekend, but it's not going to be excessively hot. It's not going to be record breaking. It's not going to be dangerous. Overall, really, really lovely weather is in store for the first full week of June. It doesn't matter whether you live in our inland locations or closer to the coast. Even our coastal communities are no longer going to be seeing those 50s. They're going to be in the mid to lower 60s and warming up to the upper 60s by this upcoming weekend. So overall, really nice weather is in store. Back to you.
Thanks, Zoe. When it comes to living in San Francisco, it's not just the rent that's tough to swallow. Finding the perfect roommate can often be just as hard. But our Laureen Ayub shows us one company that is trying to make that a little easier.
You may have heard of speed dating.
Well, welcome to the era of speed roommating. Put on by roommate finding service Spare Room, the new gatherings are helping roommate seekers like Priyanka Shetty find an ideal housemate.
I've been here in the Bay Area for 5 years now, and I'm looking to move to the city. And I thought it'd be a great opportunity to find a roommate here. The rent's like obnoxious to live alone.
Priyanka is not alone. According to Spare Room, at around $3,000 a month for a one-bedroom in San Francisco, more people are looking to share rent. But instead of blindly living with strangers, the gatherings help people find safe and compatible roommates.
Priority should be your safety and mental sanity, right? That is very important. And if that can be conducive with other people, yeah, why not?
With attendees notating their budgets and preferred neighborhoods, Rupert Hunt, the CEO of Spare Room, says these gatherings not only help people save time and money, but also might save you from some unnecessary roommate trauma.
The trouble is occasionally you maybe spend an hour or two going to a viewing, but then you might know within moments that you wouldn't get on with the person that you're going to live with. So this is just a more immediate version of Spare Room where you meet the people you're going to live with. And, you know, it's the people that are going to make or break the experience, not the size of the room or the power of the shower.
Participants display their shared interests while finding someone to share their bills with, too.
If you could save $1,000 by splitting it with somebody and have a decent living situation, why not? It's a win-win, right?
Because in the Bay Area, the real love story might just be about finding that perfect roommate.
Thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ann Makovic. We're going to be right back with your first alert forecast and another look at your top stories.
Streaming CBS News Bay Area.
The Valero refinery preparing to shut down and neighbors bracing for the potential impacts. Hear why they say they are split about their city's biggest employer leaving.